Hello and welcome. This is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. This channel evaluates all aspects of true crime. As you are aware, videos and live streams in this genre often discuss elements of crime that may be disturbing to some viewers. If necessary, take the precautions needed to avoid these feelings. Factual information related to cases is the key to fostering rational true crime discussions. Fortunately, you will find that here. Please hit the like button only once, share the video, and subscribe if you like my content. Thank you very much for watching.
Stupid is being nice. You're an absolute moron.
It's a house!
5 brain cells, 4 aren't working. You know, that's just one step above stupid. There's mosquitoes the size of bald eagles in that dadgum swamp.
What's going on, freaks? Watching the Blazer game. We beat the Spurs. Of course, they didn't have Wembanyama, but they play good without him, so it doesn't matter. All right. What do you mean? Where does it say clickbait title? I don't see that one. Hey, look at that, 20 months and 34. Eve loves God and Lisa Valenzuela. I don't see anywhere where it says clickbait titles. Oh, legit title or clickbait? Well, what's the... Yeah, I don't do clickbait titles. Why don't you wait for the show to start? Yeah. All right, here we go. I'm gonna start off with the Kohberger. Zozo sent me this. I actually have a New York Times subscription, so there it is. Look at that's Kohberger's sister. No wonder he turned out the way that he did, huh? Jesus. Let's see. Hey, thanks KMTX. And by the way, first I wanted to say I thought it was pretty incredible what the United States did, getting rid of Maduro, a just nut job. He's kind of like a Saddam Hussein. You know what's weird is they always look the same, those guys, you know. You know, look, compare Stalin, Saddam Hussein, and Maduro. But anyways, they go in there and, you know, just take him out of the country, you know, him and his wife. I think it's incredible. And then I guess we're going to have to sort of keep the peace there until they get a different leader in there that's not a criminal who sends drugs into the country. But if you're a Democrat, you have to make it sound like it's a really bad thing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's actually amazing. So, hey, thanks, Richard Watts. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I mean, even Biden didn't recognize him as a legitimate leader. And also, I mean, he's responsible for thousands of deaths in the United States. And I think it's probably, you know, that whole thing where Trump would always say they send their criminals and empty their, I think that's a real thing that they did over there and sent them to the United States through the southern border when it was wide open like a sieve. All right, here we go. Let's go on this though. But while you're watching, nobody's required to help support my channel, but it's always appreciated. So if you have the ability to help support my channel, that would be awesome. Let's see, the harrowing. Well, they should pick the one that got 70% in their last election and then was exiled. That's who they should get. The harrowing news has spread across the country in the fall. This is I guess his sister did an interview. Okay? And her name is Mel Kohberger, Brian Kohberger's sister. When her brother was arrested, Miss Kohberger had been training to start a job as a mental health counselor, but her new employer was so flooded with inquiries that she agreed to abandon the position. I mean, that's what sucks. Yeah, I bet you can pick the YouTubers who probably spent all their days calling a work. I would never do that. I would try to get a hold of them through an email or maybe their house, but you don't call their work. I mean, you guys are nuts, man. Hey, thanks, Marvin Guns. He said, let's see. Hold on. The source code for
Smartmatic and Dominion electronic voting machines was owned by.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I think I mentioned that a couple months ago. That I think Venezuela had something to do with those machines, and I think that's what the goal is, to try to figure out if they were doing something with that. I mean, one of the goals, not the goal, but it's interesting, though, isn't it? Let's see. The harrowing news had spread across the country in the fall of 2022. 4 college students were found stabbed to death at a house near the University of Idaho campus. Mel Kohberger, who was preparing to start a new job as a mental health therapist in New Jersey, could not help feeling a sense of alarm. Her brother, Brian, was living just 15 minutes from the scene of the mysterious killings. Investigators had no suspects, and Brian was just the type of person who would leave his door unlocked and go out late on late-night jogs. Brian, okay, what are they trying to sneak that in there? Like, yeah, he just goes out late all the time. I mean, I don't know what the angle. I haven't read this article yet, so the angle could be something really, like pro burger BS type article. I don't know. All right, let's see. Her brother Brian was living just 15 minutes away. Brian, you are running outside, and this psycho killer is on the loose, you remember telling him. How ironic. Be careful. He thanked her for checking on him and assured her that he would stay safe. Well, of course he would stay safe, because he's the killer, so he's not scared of somebody else out there. In early December that year, her brother returned to their parents' home in Pennsylvania for the holidays, and later that month, Miss Kohberger got a call from her sister, Amanda. Law enforcement officers had burst into the house in the middle of the night and placed Mr. Kohberger in handcuffs. She was like, I'm with the FBI. Brian's been arrested, Miss Kohberger said. I was like, for what? The response, the Idaho murders. For a brief moment, she wondered if it was a prank. Then a sense of nausea overtook her. Literally overnight, the mystery of who stabbed 4 young people to death in an ordinary neighborhood full of college students gave way to new questions. Why Mr. Kohberger, a reclusive but dedicated PhD student who may have been on a path to a career in criminology, may have mounted a silent and brutal attack on 4 students from another university who had no apparent connection to him. The arrest upended the lives of the Kohberger family. Hey, thanks, C. Daly. Tabloids stationed cameras outside the home, snapping images of Miss Kohberger's father cleaning up the damage from the police raid. Online sleuths scrutinized footage of Amanda acting in a 2011 horror film that had also, what's there to sleuth out about that? It's just ridiculous. It also involved the stabbing. Miss Kohberger said she was engaged by angered by internet posts from people who speculated whether her family had known all along that Mr. Kohberger was the killer. I have always been a person who has spoken up for what was right, she said. If I ever had a reason to believe my brother did anything, I would have turned him in. For the past 3 years, the family has kept quiet, avoiding interviews, even as Kohberger pleaded guilty and accepted 4 life sentences. His parents and siblings wanted to do everything in their power to respect the victims' families during the legal process, Ms. Kohberger said, and even now she expressed fear that she might say something that could further traumatize them. Her family challenges, she said several times, cannot compare to what those families have endured. And while the family still does not want to discuss the crime itself, Ms. Kohberger agreed recently to share part of their story, saying she hoped she could bring out the truth about her family and what it has been like to be dragged into the epicenter of a true crime epic. Well, my Blazers won tonight, if you're talking about. Family members of high-profile criminals have long struggled to navigate the collateral infamy thrust upon them. The Kohbergers found themselves not just interrogated by detectives, but subject to the scrutiny of an assortment of amateur sleuths, part of a true crime fervor that has brought millions of people together in Facebook groups, Reddit forums, and YouTube channels. When her brother was arrested, Miss Kohberger had been training to start a job as a mental health counselor, but her new employer was so flooded with inquiries from these same nut jobs that she agreed to abandon the position. Doesn't say that last part, but more recently, a book about the case emerged on Amazon with an author listed as Melissa Kohberger, suggesting that someone was trying to make money by selling a false version of her story. Yeah, they probably a pen name, Melissa. Melissa Kohberger. Yeah, okay. But yeah, you guys, if you're out there and if you want to help support the channel, that would be awesome. We're currently at 1/15 of a nightly goal. It's confusing, she said. It's painful. It's like being victimized, but not really being a victim. Mr. Kohberger grew up in the Poconos in a home centered on family, with readings of books like Little House on the Prairie and lessons rooted in their mother's Catholic upbringings. Ms. Kohberger said she and her brother and sister had been imbued with values of loyalty, self-reliance, and putting the needs of others ahead of their own. Some of her fondest childhood memories were the nights when her parents, Marianne and Michael, ordered takeout food and woke up the children laying blankets out on the deck. There they all looked at the stars, talking about astronomy and the wonders of the world. Friends have described how Mr. Kohberger had been overweight as a teenager and had a standoffish personality, something the family now believes was related to autism. He endured persistent bullying, Ms. Kohberger said. He wrote online during those years of having no emotion, little remorse, and feeling as if he was an organic sack of meat with no self-worth. Later he spiraled into heroin addiction. When he stole Miss Kohberger's phone and sold it at a mall to buy more drugs, she said her parents alerted the police. Miss Kohberger said they were all worried that he was on a path to an early death, as ultimately happened with one of his friends. But after he went through treatment, she said Mr. Kohberger seemed to be on a better trajectory. She and her brother both shared an interest in crimes and psychology. She was pursuing a career in mental health therapy. He began discussing a career in policing, going on to study psychology at DeSales University in eastern Pennsylvania before getting accepted into a PhD program in criminology at Washington State University. We were all so proud of him because he had overcome so much, she said. He was still socially awkward and could be abrasive, she said. They often argued. Still, she said she never saw him be violent. When she once tried to force him out of the house during an argument, he de-escalated the situation by holding back her hands. Holding back her hands. What does that even mean? The lack of a violent history was one reason the family found it so disorienting to hear that Mr. Kohberger was accused of such a barbaric crime. In the days before the raid, the family had gathered for Christmas. Miss Kohberger remembered being thrilled to see her brother back home in Pennsylvania and hugging him tightly to accommodate the strict diet he now followed. Their mother had made him vegan cookies for the holidays. They played TV, party games. One night, as Miss Kohberger was cleaning up the kitchen, a sharp edge of a foil caused her finger to bleed, and her brother, initially expressing disgust at the sight of blood, helped clean the cut and cover it up with a Band-Aid. See, this seems like it's an attempt to... So, wow, I mean, how could he cut some people up if he didn't like to see blood, you know? Yeah, I don't... and I'm just trying to get the ball rolling tonight. I've already kind of started off slow again.
Wave continuance.
We're currently at $25.98. Investigators have, after going weeks without naming... Oh wait, this is during those weeks at home, Miss Kohberger said she recalls him only briefly mentioning the Idaho murders, saying that investigators were still hunting for the killers. Thanks, Timothy Cecil. Investigators, after going weeks without naming a suspect, had turned to the public in early December and requested help finding a white Hyundai Elantra of a model year of 2011 to 2013 that had been seen circling near the victim's house on the night of the killings. Miss Kohberger, knowing that her brother had driven a white Elantra back from school, said she had briefly wondered if they were looking for the same model, but then learned that his was a different year. Well, see, the fact that you learned that it was a different year means that you were suspicious, right? You wouldn't even have checked it out, but you learned that. Unknown to the family, investigators had pinpointed Mr. Kohberger as a suspect within days of his return to Pennsylvania. They were already surveilling the house. In the early hours of December 30th, 2022, while Mr. Kohberger and his parents were alone in the house, police officers burst in with their guns drawn, shattering glass and rushing to place him in handcuffs. In court, law enforcement officials said that Mr. Kohberger's DNA was found on a knife sheath that had been left next to two of the victims. Amazon records showed he had purchased the same type of knife. And then there was the white Elantra. Investigators determined that the car seen near the murder house matched the model he drove. Miss Kohberger said her mother has been praying daily for the families of the victims. Miss Kohberger herself has put the names of the victims, Madison Mogan, Kaylee Gonzalez, Anna Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, and their birthdays into her digital calendar so that she will get reminders about them. Whoa, hey, geez. Thanks again, Marty's Bar and Grill. Look at that, you guys. And then we also have Timothy Cecil a minute ago, and then, and then Lisa Belson. Man, I'm telling you guys, I feel like it'd be really difficult to make it some of these nights without a few different people, and then everybody else helps fill it in too. Anyways, thank you so much, Lisa Belson, and Marty's Bar and Grill got us to about 40%, just like that. And welcome all the new members out there. That's 20. Alright. So it sounds like they're pretty, at least they have some of these facts correct in here so far. Yeah, so his DNA was found on the sheath. He drove the same model. Miss Kohberger said her mother has been praying daily for the families of their victims. Madison Mogan, Kaylee Gonzalez, Anna Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. And their birthdays into her digital calendar so that she will get reminders about them. During holidays, she said her family has felt grief that Mr. Kohberger could not be with them, meaning Brian Kohberger. And why do you say Mr. Kohberger? And then she would think of the victim's family, because the dad would be Mr. Kohberger too, right? I would think of the victims' families and the pain they must be feeling. I think that's a little creepy to put their birthdays in your phone. I don't know. I mean, unless you're going to send a message or I don't really understand that. It's weird. The idea is making me so emotional that I can barely speak to you about it, she said in tears. Steve Gonzalez, the father of Miss Gonzalez. Just say their names, for God's sakes. Steve Gonzalez, the father of Miss Gonzalez. Well, of course. Just say Kaylee. Everybody knows who these people are. You just, you know. I don't know. What do you think, you guys? I think that's ridiculous. Steve Gonzalez, the father of Miss Gonzalez. Yeah, you said her name up there, so just put it there again. Or just say Kaylee, you know. He had sympathy. Steve Gonzalez, the father of Miss Gonzalez, Kaylee, said he had sympathy for Mr. Kohberger's sister. Yeah, I do too. I think, you know, the sisters, I'm not sure how I feel about the parents. Yeah, I think the father knew something. That he had to have known something on that trip back, in my opinion. Well, good. I'm glad you have my phone number. It's different, though. Yeah, so let me start that part over. Stephen Gonzalez, the father of Kaylee, said he had sympathy for Mr. Kohberger's sisters and the scrutiny they had endured in recent years. But he said he still had lingering questions about what Mr. Kohberger's parents... Oh, there you go. Look at that. What Mr. Kohberger's parents might have known or suspected. That's exactly what I think. As the criminal case proceeded, the Kohberger family was troubled by the intense discussion about it. Mr. Kohberger's emotionless mannerisms, which the family attributed to his autism, became something people treated as evidence of him being a monster. Research has not established any conclusive causal links between autism and violent crime. You mean like more so than another? Now, there were reports that he had interacted with some of the victims on social media or had gone to a restaurant where two of them had worked. I think that was the Mad Greek, right? Two of them had worked, but investigators later dismissed those claims. All of the attention Miss Kohberger said made it hard to imagine that her brother could get a fair trial. And she could see that the wild speculation surrounding the case, yeah, but all the wild speculation was trying to help your brother, okay? The rest of us weren't wild speculating, okay? We put out the factual information. Let me tell you guys something. This is how idiotic AI can be too. You know, like people on Reddit, there's people out there that say that my theories in cases are wrong and dangerous. You know, like Kylie Rodney case. Well, we got that one right. Well, how about the Delphi case? Got that one right. Hey, how about the Idaho 4? Got that one right. But there's these morons on Reddit that literally type in stuff like, yeah, Gray, he's, you know, he puts out these conspiracy theories. And then when you look it up, it says that. Like he's a, you know, does conspiracy theories or something. Man, we're the exact opposite of that. And people know that. That's why they get frustrated. Oh, you just believe what the cops say, Gray. No, it is crazy. Somebody sent a version from, I don't know which platform it was, but it was just crazy. Absolute lunacy. All the attention Miss Kohberger said made it hard to imagine. Yeah, this is the that he would get a fair trial. The wild speculation surrounding the case seemed hurtful to the families and friends of the students who died. Okay, that's true. Once an avid true crime fan herself, she now looks back on that with regret. You mean being a fan of true crime? Why? Because your brother is a killer, so now you feel... Yeah, I mean, I guess the rest of us don't have that. Most of us. Yeah, Facebook's full Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit have a lot of really stupid people on there. I mean, just brain dead, just mindless, droning fools, I don't know what else to call them. It's just you read what they write, and it just makes no sense, and it's crazy. Somebody said on Twitter, "You watch for Monday, Gray. Candace Owens is gonna." I think what he thought was that I was somebody else. I don't know. I mean, I did make there was a poll on Twitter that said, "Are you on Team Candace Owens or Erica Kirk?" And I said, if you're on Team Candace Owens, you're an idiot. And then all these people started replying. But it's true. I mean, isn't that a true statement? Like, if you literally believe all the stuff that Candace Owens is saying, you technically are an idiot. And I don't know what else to do for you. See, but that's not cool, Gray. Maybe they just think differently than you. That's true. Just like somebody might think 3 plus 3 is 87, and I would say they're an idiot. Okay? They think differently than me, and, 3 plus 3 definitely isn't 87. Unless you had each one be a variable, and, let's see, 40, and the variable of 3 equaled 43.5. Okay. See, Gray, that's what I'm saying, man. Yeah, there isn't a team. That's what I told somebody else. I go, there isn't a team anything. I think what I should say is, if you're on Team Candace, you're on Team Idiocy. That's it. Because I said to another person, I go, well, there isn't really a team. There's no teams. It's just... All right, we're having one of those massive lulls, you guys. We got to keep on trucking here. We're only at, we're not even at 50% yet. So if we have the ability out there, the rest of you freaks, that would be great. Nobody's required, but your support for the channel is definitely appreciated. We don't have any other source of income. Like last night, my live stream, what do you think the ad revenue was for the 2.5 hours I was on here? Somebody throw out some numbers. Go ahead, put it out. What do you think it was? What was the ad revenue for last night's live stream? Want to know what the answer is? You take some guesses first, though. Go ahead. I know, that's what I said at the beginning. No, it was $9 bucks. $9. You see what I'm saying? There's no way I can do a show if that was it. You get it? I mean, $9. Can you believe that? Jeez. Yeah, if it was 56, I'd be happy. Yeah. I'd be happy that it would help augment something. But 9 is basically, you didn't even do a show. Hey, look at that. Lisa Belson did another one of those challenges. If 5 other freaks gift 1 membership, she'll do 5 herself, I think, is what she's saying. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's really disheartening on the live streams. I don't know why they do it why it's like that, why it's less, I don't know, but we've got a challenge in there by Lisa Belson. Let's see. It's human nature to be curious about darker things, she said. That's how we keep ourselves safe, but I think we should try and come together for a true crime culture that is way more protective and empathetic to the families of the victims. Right. That's exactly what my channel does. Because we just go over the facts of the case and what the killer did. We don't invent stuff for, the thrill and That's why I think the other, I don't want to, I'm not going to name names, but it's so disgusting, inventing something. Hey, thanks, Cheryl Bullock. They just invent theories to get their fan base excited, and there's nothing going to be true about it. The family has tried to support Mr. Kohberger since the arrest. They have held regular calls with him, avoiding discussions about the details of the case. Ms. Kohberger said she had kept him, since his arrest. Okay, well, he's in prison. Ms. Kohberger said she kept him posted about life back at home, and he sometimes talks about his latest interest in psychology, the Myers-Briggs personality assessment, and the bicameral mind theory, in which the two sides of ancient human brains operated independently. But by the way, did you guys see Lisa Belson's challenge up there, you guys? Hey, thanks, Marty's Bar and Grill. Now we need 3 more of those. It's 2 for 1 on your guys. For his birthday, Mr. Kohberger asked his family to make a cake that he thought his sister Amanda would like. Wow, that's so generous of him. He asked Mel to blow out the candles. Oh, God. I'm just, what's funny? I bet you the Proberger nut jobs, they actually take this and go, oh, God, that's so heartwarming. He said, can you make Mel a nice cake? And listen, would you make Amanda a nice cake? And Mel, can you blow out the candles for me? Oh, God, you're just unreal. All right, we got Jessica Schubach. Thank you. Now we need 2 more of those. For his birthday, Mr. Cooper asked his family to make a cake that he thought his sister Amanda would like. I think she'd like chocolate and raspberry, Mom. Can you make that for Amanda? And gee, would you ask Mel to blow out the candles? Thank you, Mommy. Through it all, they have tried to reconcile the son and brother they love, and still do, with the man depicted by prosecutors and the police, the man who pleaded guilty to killing 4 young people with no apparent motive. When he entered the guilty plea in July, his parents attended, with his mother sobbing in the front row. Hey, thanks, Timothy Cecil. Hey, we just need 1 more now. Weeks later, when he was sentenced, Miss Kohberger had hoped to attend, but she stayed home to care for her father, who had developed heart problems. They watched the hearing together on television. Just heartwarming, Some of the victims' family members, given a chance to address the court, unloaded their anger at Mr. Kohberger, who, you're talking about Olivia Gonzalez and the father, right? Who sat largely in blank-faced silence. You're definitely a demon from hell, one family member said through a lawyer. The truth is, you're as dumb as they come. That was so great. The truth is, you're as dumb as they come, Olivia Gonzalez. Stupid, clumsy, slow, sloppy, weak, dirty, said another. No, it wasn't another. It was the same person. See, they don't even know it. The judge said that he could not discern any redeeming quality in Mr. Kohberger. I thought the judge was awesome in those hearings, even though, it all sucked that we didn't get to have a trial. But, he didn't hold back either. As a matter of fact, he let the family do what they did, even though that's not normally what you allow. But hey, guys, we need one more gifted channel membership up there. Who's going to do it? Who's going to help support the channel with that one gifted membership to reach the goal? Not the goal, but reach the challenge that Lisa Belson put out there. The truth is, you're as dumb as they come. Stupid, clumsy, slow, sloppy, weak, dirty. The judge said that he could not discern any redeeming quality in Mr. Kohberger because his grotesque acts of evil have buried and hidden anything that might have been good or intrinsically human about him. Through it all, Mr. Kohberger sat with his hands in his lap, nothing in front of him but a pen and a piece of paper that appeared to have a small drawing on it. On the internet, some of the amateur sleuths watching the proceedings zoomed in on to scrutinize the sketch, speculating that it appeared to be a dark heart. Brian Kohberger keeps creepy drawings close during sentencing. Brian Kohberger keeps creepy drawing close during sentencing for a quadruple killing, a tabloid headline declared. Hey, there we go. Thank you, Sassy Squatch. On Michelle H. Thank you. In truth, Miss Kohberger said it was a heart surrounded by vibrant colors that she herself had drawn for her brother. Even if she could not be there in person, she said, she wanted him to know that he was loved. And that was by Mike Baker. That is just ridiculous. Hey, look at that. 4 months. Seems like you've been around longer than that. Thank you. Oh, and thank you there again. Oh, yeah, that was the match. Very cool. All right, appreciate it. Thank you. Welcome all the new freaks out there. Consider sticking around at the end of the month. You get to use all those emojis, etc. All right, well, what do you guys think of that? I mean, it wasn't, I guess what we're going to have to do is wait for a... Why is that like that? I forgot. Maybe because I'm way up in the air. Strange. Oh. Yeah, I think when you have these open, it causes problems. Let me turn... Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it was kind of lame. It wasn't anything... I mean, one thing you could take from it was that the fact that she looked up what year his car was, because originally it was 2011 to 2013, but it turns out later it was consistent with from 2011 to 2016. You could actually change the windows on all of them. But I think what's going to happen is they're not going to give out any sort of detailed anything until there's a huge contract with somebody, like for a movie or an interview with Kohberger. I think people would pay in the millions for an interview with Brian Kohberger, where he sat down for hours telling the truth. Whatever the truth is for him. I think we'd know it when we heard it, right? And I think that That's kind of what we're, I mean, I think that's where we're having to wait for, is that. Yeah, I think it is creepy. Well, her mom did. Her mom put the, I think they were talking about the mom, right? Who put the birthdays in their phone. I thought it was Kohberger's mom. But see, again, that's why it was so stupid the way they kept saying, Miss Kohberger, Miss Kohberger, Miss Kohberger. You know, which one? Yeah, they definitely would pay him millions. That makes you think he would tell the truth. What makes you think he would tell the truth? Did you hear the rest of my sentence? Or did you just type that in as if you weren't paying attention? I mean, I said, and, you know, he'd tell the truth, and I said, you know, or whatever his truth might be, you know. And I said we would realize what the truth was. I mean, my God, just try to listen a little bit better. Hey, how's it going, John? I don't know if I've ever seen you before, but there you are. All right, well, I don't have any more on that. That was it. I'm still, on Monday, I'll be checking in with the courts to, you know, see where my next documents, I think they should be coming in pretty soon. I mean, I have the Floyd's Cannabis Shop. I have the DoorDash delivery information, which nobody had ordered. I mean, don't you find that weird that nobody ordered those kinds of things? Those are, I bet people realize, they go, yeah, listen, forget that stuff. What makes money is the videos. Now, if we can get these videos, I just want to put the case together, you know, all of the information, put it out there, etc. And, yeah, and thanks again to, for that stretch there with Lisa Belson and Marty's Bar and Grill, of course. And then everybody else who came in and reached some challenges. We're still, you know, got a ways to go tonight, but, you know, we've only been on here for 40-something minutes. I mean, most of it we know pretty well. I wouldn't say there's a lot at this point, but I'd love to have the cast data, you know, each night where his phone, but that's like FBI information, and they don't give it out. So, yeah, well, here's what I think is lame what they're doing. So, you know, even though Latah County or I can't remember, did they switch to Ada at the end? Whatever it is, they had all of the exhibits, right? So why can't they just give us the exhibits? Why do we have to contact the original creator of the exhibit to get that? They should just have all of it and then disseminate it if we're asking for it. Not, oh, well, you got to call Washington State for that one. Oh, you got to call the school for that one. You got to do this, you got to do that, and it just goes on and on and on. It's crazy. Very difficult. Here, I'll be back in just a second. Gotta turn on the air conditioning a little bit. I think it's too hot in here. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I bought these like $40 shelves for my, I think it looks better in here. See, I got stuff more organized than it was. Yeah, so I got a whole bunch more stuff ordered, waiting for it. And there's a camera that they talk about that doesn't seem to be in, I think it's on the exhibit list, but it's not mentioned in that one document that tells you about each of the cameras. And it's in Pullman, Washington. So I sort of asked for times where you could reasonably think he could have driven by. And that's going to be original order, so I have to pay the bigger cost, I think. But hey, guys, we're hitting one of those early show lulls again. It's good to get to reach the goals early, then we just have a smooth show, you know. It looked like I got banned from the screen, but it was an error. Huh? I think we know most of the case. Yeah, it just feels like... Yeah. I mean, I have a timeline that has almost everything in there. I'm able to get it more dialed in. Who? Who are you talking about, Zozo? The sister? Kohberger's sister? Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about the Dennis case, Monique was married to a guy named Michael McKee back in 2015. So that's somebody he was married to. But that's where we're going to go next anyways. Well, I hadn't even mentioned it yet, but I was about to go on to that one. Yeah. So somebody messaged me that information. I looked it up. That person had 5 different criminal. 3 of them were automobiles, and then 2 were sort of similar. One had a $13,000 charge, etc. So I don't know what those were, but those were back in 2000 again, like 10, 11 time frame. So this is the Dennis case of Spencer and Monique Tepe. So let's just go. Let me just read this one, and then we'll. I'm gonna do the. You guys interested in that? The Sprinfield 3 again? I did it years ago, like 3 years ago, and I think it'd be interesting to look at it again, because you know how like your own evaluation changes over time a little bit because your experience in learning. That's how I want to do it. I want to go over it again and see if it, you know, if we think differently about it now. Let's get into this one. What do you mean? We've been getting into it. We've gone over it. This is the 3rd night in a row. Yeah, we've all seen that, John. It was stupid. Like, you know what's weird is that somebody would even want to look it up. How stupid do people... I mean, hey, Gray was over there. He got pulled over because he went 35 and a 25 or something. And he got pulled over, and these idiot internet sleuths have to look it up. I mean, what idiot takes their time to do something like that? What difference does it make? You guys are so stupid. It's just unbelievable. And then you have to pay the money to get him to send it to you. And, oh, I can't wait. Ooh, look, he's going to see Gray get pulled over. Yeah, I think I mentioned it because I was live streaming when I got pulled over. That's why. I was like, oh, shoot, I'm getting pulled over. Oh, let's go look it up. Ooh, 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 ooh. God. Mm-hmm. You're Jake with State Farm? Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, it was just... I mean, you know, you don't see it from the cop's camera, but what difference does it make at that point? It's so stupid. Anyways, let's do this one. So this is the CNN article from Well, it's from 16 hours ago, so I guess that's today. Let's see what this one says. The immense joy of Spencer and Monique Tepe. And I was looking at this. I was thinking that looks like that's in their yard, that fence. I think that's where they did get married, you know. Let's see. Let me go down here. What do you mean you're here? Yeah, we see you. It's dirty because I just drove 400 miles in the wet dirt roads out there. No, I wasn't running from anybody. He was trying to grab something, and I said, "Okay, see you later." And then he chased me around after that in his car. And then I got a cop, and they met me, and I said, "Hey, you know, this guy," he said I can't be walking through an apartment complex's parking area. And they go, "No, you can do that." I mean, there was nothing I did that I shouldn't be able to do. And that guy was nuts. And people go, "Gray, you should have done..." What do you mean? I don't know what this person is. I don't know anything about him. I'd rather try to de-escalate and leave. I have no clue what this guy is. You see, I mean, anybody that would come towards you and try to grab a camera from you, you can already just say that there's something wrong with that person. Okay? Immediately. So then you're like, okay, I don't know what to do here. Hey, thanks, Chris O'Connell. Yeah, that trip wasn't great. The other times I went out, I thought were pretty good. Well, I mean, I wasn't scared like, oh my God, I just said, yeah, whoa, hey, yeah, I'll leave, okay, whatever, dude. I mean, it was creepy, you know. I mean, I don't know if he has a weapon or what he's got. It was when the lady followed Gray around in Delphi. Yeah, I had another time in Delphi case where these people waited for me to get to the bridge area. I walked down, and then they started walking really slow in front of me, Robert Ives, and my wife. And then they started yelling at Robert Ives, thinking it was me. And then they said, oh, and then they started talking about my coverage of the Florida fires. And I only did one episode on that years ago. And they had me confused with somebody. They go, well, you deleted them all. No, I didn't. Okay. I mean, people are just crazy. I can't imagine doing any... This is what I'm telling you guys. Imagine being that weird of a person to do the things that these people do. Just think about that. Looking up somebody being pulled over that has nothing to do with the case, but you just want to try to embarrass them or something. Running out of your apartment and telling somebody to hand you their camera and walking towards them like a psycho. Waiting for somebody to show up somewhere and following them down a path. How does somebody's brain work that way where you feel like that's okay? And that, in real life, you know, real life stuff. It's insane. All right, anyways, back to this. Let's see. The immense joy of Spencer and Monique Tepe was unmistakable, and their wedding day in 2021 video shared by the family, which captured them exchanging vows. The then newlyweds embraced and laughed in their Columbus, Ohio home as friends and loved ones cheered them. But just 1 month before their 5th anniversary, the same setting where the couple began their life, so it sounds like they got married at their house together, became the site of an unspeakable tragedy. Here, let me just look at something. That could be right there, right? Like that photograph might be taken where they're standing right there, and then see that building behind them? That kind of makes sense, doesn't it? It looks like not a house, but more of the height of one of those garages that are in the back. So I think that's where that was taken, right there. Well, thanks for showing up, Cindy. I didn't know what you meant up there when you said that you're here or something. Yeah, and then it says, but just 1 month before their 9th anniversary, the same setting where the couple began their life together became the site of unspeakable tragedy. The respected Dennis, 37, and his 39-year-old wife, a stay-at-home mother, were found dead on Tuesday after being gunned down in their upscale home while their 2 young children were inside. A memorial of roses and sunflowers now grows outside the home as news of the shocking killings spread nationwide just days after Christmas, generating more questions than answers. Law enforcement has been reluctant to disclose any details about a possible suspect or motive, but said the killer or killers of the young couple remain on the loose. Even more mysterious, police revealed there were no obvious signs of forced entry. I hope they release some surveillance, because we know that they have that one camera for sure right outside. And no firearm was found at the scene. Now let me look at something. Somebody said that the house itself has a Ring doorbell camera on it, and I don't know how we can. I guess if we zoom in, that's a flag holder, I think. I don't know. I don't see one there, but I think if you were there, you could see it. Let's see, memorial of roses and sunflowers now grows outside the home as news of the shocking killings spread nationwide. Law enforcement has been reluctant to disclose any details about a possible suspect or motive, but said the killer or killers of the young couple remain on the loose. Even more mysterious, police revealed there were no obvious signs of forced entry and no firearm was found at the scene. Well, that's not mysterious that there was no firearm found at the scene. It just means it's a murder, right? Police are asking the public for any information. What murderer leaves the gun at the scene? Very few, so it's not even mysterious. It's actually logical. Police are asking the public for any information on a case they say is being investigated as a double homicide, not a murder-suicide. Here's what we know and don't know about the tragedy. How concerned friends and colleagues led police to the home. So a lot of this we've already gone through. This is just kind of a recap here in a CNN article. Spencer Tepe had rarely missed work at Athens Dental Depot, located about 75 miles southeast of the family's Columbus home, and he and his wife were always responsive, according to the owner of his practice, Dr. Mark Valrose, CNN affiliate WSYX reported. But on Tuesday morning, he didn't show up for work, spurring concern from his colleagues. that continued to grow when they could not get in touch with him or his wife, according to 911 calls. Valrose made the first 911 call, so the owner made the first 911 call at about 8:58. See, that's crazy. So he was supposed to be there at 8. That even makes that even more obvious. Like, he was supposed to be at work at 8. He spent some time, and then he goes, okay, I got a call. And asked police to conduct a wellness check, telling the dispatcher he is always on time, and he would contact us if there were any issues, according to the recording. I don't know how else to say this, but we are very, very concerned. This is very out of character for him, he continued. We can't get in touch with his wife, which is probably the more concerning thing. And then at 9:22, an officer finally arrived, so that would be 24 minutes later. An officer arrived at the home to perform that very same welfare check, but no one answered the door. Around 30 minutes after that, Tepe's colleagues and friend arrived at the home, but also did not get a response, the dispatch records showed. A man at the scene also called 911 at 9:56 a.m. saying he heard children crying inside. But hey guys, although it's not required out there, if you have the ability to help support the channel, that would be great. We're still not at the goal, and if you have the ability to, that would be fantastic. Maybe we can get one of the other freaks out there to do another challenge of some sort. Let's see. I can hear kids inside. So a man at the scene also called 911 at 9:56. So he must have gone out there. I wonder how that came about. Or maybe that was a coworker. Okay. I can hear kids inside, and I swear I think I heard one yell, the caller said, according to dispatch audio. But we can't get in. At this point, I don't know if I need to break the door in to get in the house or what. 2 minutes later, another colleague of Tepe called 911. What do you mean, check it what, John Sellerson? I don't know what the hell you're talking about, man. Check it. I don't know what to do, he said. 2 minutes later, another colleague of Tepe's, that must have been a colleague, called 911 to say that they were unable to reach him for about 3 hours. Okay, so that was like 8 in the morning. Or even earlier, I guess. Around 10:03 a.m., a friend of Tepe, who said the two last spoke the day before, was audibly distressed as he called 911. There's a body, he reported. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they drove from where the office is or they just live in the same town anyways. And a colleague doesn't necessarily always mean... I mean, if you're another dentist at a different place, you might call yourself a colleague, you know. So they could have been someone around closer in the area, and maybe the owner of the other one said, hey, can you check? I know you're a little closer. Can you check this? You know, and they went and looked. Around 10:03 a.m., a friend of Tepe who said the two last spoke the day before was audibly distressed as he called 911. There's a body. Our friend wasn't answering his phone. We just came here and he appears dead, the friend said. Officers found the bodies of Spencer Tepe and Monique Tepe in their home in the Wineland Park neighborhood, Columbus police said. Their two children, ages 1 and 4, were also found unharmed in the residence. Columbus police have not issued any warnings to the community about an ongoing threat, and the agency did not respond to CNN's questions about the timing of the killings, whether the Tepes were specifically targeted, or any information about a suspect or motive. The Franklin County Coroner's Office told CNN autopsy reports can take between 8 and 10 weeks to complete. A police incident report from Tuesday said Spencer and Monique Tepe were victims of homicide. There is a police camera situated on a utility pole at an intersection located a few hundred feet from the Tepe's home, according to the Columbus Dispatch. CNN has asked police whether any neighborhood cameras captured any relevant clues about what took place. Now they haven't had any press conferences. To help zero in on the motive and possible suspects, investigators will examine forensics, the possible entry of the killer, whether anything was stolen from the home, and the Tepe family's background to determine any further threat to the rest of the community, according to CNN senior national security analyst Juliet Kayyem. Without any recovered firearm, it's not surprising detectives would investigate the death as a double homicide and not a murder-suicide, of course. The other clue is, of course, the children are left safe. Either of the two scenarios for now. Yeah, it's weird too, because it's like, it seems like the killer doesn't think one of the kids would even recognize him if they saw him. This type of crime is exceptionally rare, given there were no signs of forced entry. She continued, you're going to look at people who they may have known, or people who knew they lived and where they lived, unfortunately, and begin there. Nobody wanted to do one of those challenges for me. Come on, you guys. Man, it's just so low energy. Maybe this was random, but the national data suggests both how uncommon this, as well as the likelihood that there may be someone who knew them, who was involved with the KM, KM said, with this. God, such crappy writing. Maybe this was random, but the ... national data suggests both how uncommon this is, as well as the likelihood that there may be someone who knew them who is involved with this. Right. Spencer and Monique Tepe shared a beautiful, strong, and deeply happy relationship. Bonded by love of travel, laughter, and a mission to build life. We are heartbroken. Okay, I think this is like the thing they wrote up. Spencer Tepe, a graduate of Ohio State University and member of the American Dental Association, was a devoted and proud father, a loving partner, and a friend of everyone he met. He was fluent in Spanish, a major fan of the Bengals and Buckeyes. Now, the couple, their family said, were extraordinary people whose lives were filled with love, joy, and deep connection to others. Yeah, it's pretty weird, this whole thing. I mean, this is the area they want you to look for your surveillance cameras, inside this square. Huh? What does that mean, Cindy? Several times with stuff like this. Yeah, we've gone over all that. Yeah, we said maybe it's somebody, there's something at work that he found out about and wasn't supposed to know, so he was taken out. Or it's maybe, I think another option is the ex-boyfriend of Monique, because she shot in the heart, basically, right in the chest. And then he shot multiple times. So, like, he shot her for breaking... this is just a theory. She shot him for breaking... Or he shot her for breaking his heart. And then he shot him more angrily because he stole the woman from him. That's what I would think. That's what it feels like. I don't think it's a robbery or anything like that. Man, you guys are already dead as a doornail in here. How does this happen all the time? I don't know what to say. Like, nobody's typing again. No challenges or anything that I'm asking. Hey, we're not even at the goal yet. And it's just dead. It's already dead. It's wild. You know, just a night of deadness. Yeah. I think it's a football team. Cincinnati Bengals. I like the Bengals, the band, the lead singer. She was pretty. Right, yeah, right. Cooking for tomorrow's dinner, sure. Yeah. I mean, the hired hit part would be, that would be the Kendra Hatcher example that we were doing yesterday. It could be an ex and they hired somebody to do it. Could be somebody he works with that hired somebody who did it. I just can't imagine. I mean, this guy, they don't seem like they're drug dealers or anything like that. And so, the options are sort of limited and like what kind of a person would do this. Right, see, we got the trolls in here, you guys. If you guys aren't interested, I don't have to do the show, Yeah. Maybe Short Bus Candid was right on the money there. He says, I challenge everyone to stay awake on this yawn fest. Okay. If that's what you guys, if he's representing what you guys think, then I won't do the show. Okay. I'll do something else. But it has that feel. I don't know. I didn't see any of the court proceedings. I have that they were married in 2015, a long time ago. I bet they have a video across the street. They haven't shared it yet. There's a camera right here, apparently. These things right there. And then the house isn't there currently. When this was there, but it's still there even. So if you go to now, which is 2025, and then look, it's still there, the camera, and now these homes are here. Okay, I don't think there is. Shelky. I don't know, you'd have to send it to me, Zozo. I don't even know what you're talking about. You must have seen a court document, so can you send that to me so we can look at it? I have no idea what you're referring to. Mm-hmm. Thanks, Joshua. Oh. So they had something in 2025, some court hearing regarding it? That's interesting. But hey guys, is there any chance you guys can help support the channel? We're on a massive lull again, and we're still not even at the minimum goal. And we were sort of on a good trajectory for a little bit there, and then it just went. So if you have the ability to help support the channel, I would appreciate it. Thank you. No, I don't know how to look at, especially during a show, I don't know how to look it up. Maybe if I'd heard about it earlier, I could have done something. Yeah, the troll was just lurking around. I even read what they said, just to be polite. And you can definitely tell they're from a short bus with that name. Okay, well that's I don't know. I mean, like I don't have much more. They're not being very open about it, information. There's like no updates or anything other than, you know, we hear kind of what the wording was when people called over, etc. The 2 kids were in the house, and now the kids are staying with family, other family members, etc. Mm-hmm. Like a gardener or a painter. Oh, jeez, Cindy, come on. You're so cliche. Right back to that again. It's got to be a gardener or a painter, everybody, who had access to the house. Perhaps they came in. No, that's not what it is. Now watch. Next story. They're on the hunt for a gardener who... Yeah, they need to just share. I mean, there might be a reason they're looking... Like, they know what kind of car it is, so they want to look it up first before the person ditches it and leaves, you know. Something like that before putting it out there. But how do we get the ball rolling here, you guys? We're really struggling again. I wish we could have nights where we just weren't struggling. Hey, thanks, Chris O'Connell. What about the rest of you guys out there? Come on. I mean, I really appreciate these people, but I want to take pressure off of these incredibly generous freaks that are, you know. I don't know. Oh, wow. Well, you guys see that? What Marty said? See, that would get us to our goal. He will do a $50 super chat if 10 of you gift just 1 channel membership, which is $5. All right? And then there it is again, Marty. Megazoids unite. All right. Come on, you guys. Let's see if we can do it. And it has to be in the next 30 minutes, you guys. So right now it's 9:05. So if we can get 10 of you to do... Yeah, look at that. So there's C Daily. There's 1. 9 more to go. And I'm pretty sure there's obviously going to be cameras in other homes around here. Well, somebody said you could see the camera on the picture on here. I don't think so. Oh, whoa, look at Lisa Belson again. The same generous people. We got, okay, so now we're at 1-7. That's awesome. Thank you. Right, here we go. Where's the ring camera? That's not a camera right there. That's a flag holder. So where do you see the ring camera on this house? Somebody said earlier. Tell me where you see it. If you're saying that this thing here on that's not a camera. So you just let me know if you see it over here. Hey, thanks, Zozo. What happens if we play this?
Tonight we have people dead in Columbus. Police confirms Monique Tepe home. Officers were called out to a home for a week around Street.
Wait. Okay, where's the Ring camera? Oh, that thing right there. I see. Okay. All right. They have the doorbell, the Ring doorbell, right on the door. Yeah, I have that. That's one. So there you go. That is a verification that this does have a Ring camera on the door. It doesn't have the other types, though. I got the camera right here on the screen. So let's see. We got 1, 2, 8 so far, you guys. Come on. Can 2 other freaks do the gift 1 membership apiece, and then we'll get a nice matching by Marty's Bar and Grill. What does that mean, Timothy Cecil? Oh, you're counting down the time. Oh, really? She'll match you too? You guys are too kind. I mean, do the whole thing or just match your part of it? I mean, or start over the whole challenge again. That's crazy. All right. That's excellent. So we need just 2 more, you guys, for them to send in 2 $50 super chats, which is way generous. I really appreciate it. I'll tell you what, since there you go. I'll do them because I'll be gifting 5 anyways, right? So there you go. There you go. I did it. I know it doesn't really count, but I could see that the rest of the people were going to be just lingering and lingering if they didn't already do it. And that does cost me $25 to do that. The 10 free ones I gave up already for the month, so. Yeah, we're just trying to get a whole bunch of gifted memberships. Strike schedule day. Original copy of hearing notice. So are they still... Yeah, I don't even understand that. Why would you still be having hearings in 2025 regarding your ex-husband? What's that about? Maybe we're still waiting for the other 2, you guys. Because this is what she sent a court. This is Monique Sabatursky. That's her name. And then that's her ex-husband. Date of marriage. Well, how come it doesn't say it's ended? Why does it just say date of marriage, but then it doesn't say, like, is it still going on? And then she got married anyways to somebody else? It's kind of weird, isn't it? Hey, thanks, Jeannie RN. Okay, there's 9 then. There's 9. We need 1 more. I'm just doing my 5 were just because I think, we'll get to the goal and then... Oh, there you go. Look at that. And Mary Mellon. So the 10 natural ones were met. Yeah, look at that. Best partner in the world, Chris. By Marty's Bar and Grill. Thank you. Where does it say that? Where does it say that?
Best partner in the world of Chris.
Well, thank you. Where does it say that? I don't see that in there. Where does it say domestic violence in here? Oh, right there. Motion to refer back to domestic court. I mean, that doesn't mean violence. Where are you reading that? Oh, right there. Huh. Applied computerized research. And then right here it says applied child abuse, applied domestic violence, shelter. Well, what child, though? She didn't have kids at the time. Did the person she married already have kids? Because she only has a kid that's 1 and 4. And that's 2017, so I don't know what that would mean. Yeah, I see it already, Julie. Are you way behind or something? All right.
Tonight we have new details on a shooting that left
Where
two
is
people
this?
dead in Columbus. Police confirm Spencer
Oh,
and
yeah.
Monique Tepe
Move around about me to prove about something we did. I was supposed to do. You might not have heard of it. You have a person on this one side. You get angry and all uptight. You can see what you want to spell my name right. Ultimately, because the rocking the house. That's where the room goes all up out. It's me and the name tell all your friends that they don't wait till you see me again. This way I hit from the horse's mouth right there. We can straighten it out. Yeah.
Glad to have you as a partner, Marty.
Well, there you go. Thanks, you guys. Man, that was really cool. Yeah, that makes it. But it's weird. It's back in. But what child would that have been in 2017? Legal aid. So it's almost like she's applying for, you know, like they applied these different things: domestic violence, shelter. I wonder if these are sort of like part of the settlement type. I mean, I don't really understand the child abuse thing. What child? Yeah, that was me. I just rapped, yeah, with it as it was playing. Couldn't you see my lips moving? And then terminate case. Notice of final appeal. Motion to refer back to domestic court. And then applied clerk. Applied vital statistics. Refund of deposit for fees and costs. Auto attorney withdrawal. Auto appear. And then there's a continuance. Original copy. I mean, it's like a... Why is there something else going on 7 years later? That's weird. Yeah, maybe it was one of his kids, like the ex. Yeah, they got married in 2015, so they might have had a kid. But it would have been that he would have already had, because I don't think she has any other kids, right? She just has the 1 and 4-year-old. At least that's what I think. I mean, maybe she does have another kid or something. I don't know. Weird. All right. Well, that definitely gonna have to add that. Here, I'll show you. Well, I don't want to put it on the screen, but he does have 5 different charges that show up on been verified, and 2 of them aren't driving ones, but I can't see what they are. That's before they got married, though. It does? I missed that. Let me see. Ah, jeez. That's why it sucks when you don't have time to. You got to read the chat, and you don't have time to look at something before a show starts because you didn't hear about it. What? Where does it say that? Where does it say that? No kids and all this stuff. Where does it say that? Date of marriage, place of marriage. Where does it say that in here? Hello? Where does it say that in here? I'd rather have people send it to my emails, because I don't have anything. All right. All right, here's more, I guess. Divorce, type of case. Divorce, no children, closed. So what does this child abuse stuff have to do with anything down here? Thanks for sending that. This is much clearer with more information. Number of children, 0. Why didn't that show up on here? It looks different for some reason. Child abuse. Domestic violence. I don't know where that's coming from here. I could see this one being something, but where is that? I don't know. I don't have anything else to add. I have no idea where that's coming from or any way to look up. You know, you probably have to order the documents and see what the hell they're talking about. And but hey, you know, maybe that'll mean something. I mean, it's about the only thing that there is out there. And by the way, why in that last article? Here, let's look at that one part again. Hold on. Now that we know that, something that was said in that article. We can't get in touch with his wife, which is probably the more concerning thing. What do you think that? Now that might mean something, you know? Because when I read that earlier, I thought that's a little odd, you know? Why is that more concerning that you can't get a hold of his wife? So is it that, do these people know? Like, remember the case we talked about last night? Kendra Hatcher. Maybe it's something where, let's say, you know, the boyfriend in that case was like, man, I got this psycho ex, you know, and tells other people. You know, because this one right here, you know, we can't get in touch with the wife, which is probably the more concerning thing. Meaning, okay, wow, you know, because there was something involving the wife that we knew about that was going on in the background, and that's the more concerning point. Yeah, see, that's a little interesting, right? That's how we do it over here. We just, you know, try to put pieces together with information that's out there. And now when we see this and then we see that other document, is there a connection in some way of why that's worded that way? You got to admit, like, that is an interesting sentence. And I thought it was interesting when I read it. I just didn't have anything, you know, to speculate about it. Like, I was thinking, that's why I knew to go back to it. Because it was just like, who would say that? This is very out of character for him. You know, and then it's like, we can't get in touch with his wife, which is probably the more concerning thing. See? Because I bet you his colleagues had heard of something that he was that Spencer was worried about, and he probably even explained it like, man, there's this, you know, person that's after my wife, and man, he just won't leave us alone, blah, 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 blah. And then, wouldn't that make sense when you're on the call to say, this is very out of character for him, but you know what, man? We can't get in touch with his wife, which is probably the more concerning thing, because he had that in the back of his mind. So, that's just a theory based on what we've got so far. So, there you go. That's all I got. Just keep that in mind there. Thanks for sending me that stuff, Zozo, and getting me updated there. Who was that? The Vegas Andrews. Give me the better screenshot. I don't know what the child abuse thing was, but there's domestic violence in there. And I don't know why it was still active in 2025, like Zozo was saying. That's pretty weird. Like, what's happening currently? Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the friends would know something. For sure. Yeah, if you can find that, send them over. But a lot of times you can just order them. Anyways, maybe I'll check tomorrow if I have time. On Camilla. Yeah, she was found. That one solved. That was done a few days ago, man. She was found dead. She shot herself. Was found right next to her house. Probably went through this little. She wasn't the person on the street walking. Where have you been? Yeah, who knows? All right, you guys want to do the... It's going to be reading again, though. But yeah, I hope you guys chat and stuff while we read this. So it's the Springfield 3. See that? These are 3 women that just sort of disappeared one night. But we'll go from the beginning here. This is the house right there. And by the way, it's still exactly the same. Let's see, where is that? Yeah, right. Look over here. Yeah, I think they must be onto something. That's why they're quiet. That's why they're not having press conferences. They don't need. I don't think they need the public's help. I think they're just pretending. You know, just not really saying anything. Ah, there it is, right there. So we did this like 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. And there it is right there. Same house. Everything's the same. See it right there? You know, even the bricks are still there. See how the...
Let's do a little reading fun. Join in, books emoji.
Hey, Timothy Cecil. See the sort of rocks on the side there? They're right here, but they're painted white. You can still see the same thing right there. If you were wondering about that. All right, here we go. See how far we can get through this. You don't see what? What house are you talking about, John? Jesus, you're just I think you're a troll. You know that? I do. Sorry. Same one that made the stupid comments earlier. And they're not just stupid comments. You were sort of passive aggressively trying to attack the channel. No, I wasn't, Gray. I really... Yes, you were. Okay. So. Nobody knows what you're talking about. So we're going to have to time you out, buddy. Maybe come back tomorrow. All right, here we go. Let's see what we got. A woman and 2 Springfield teenagers vanished on graduation night, leaving their cars, purses, money, and some clothes behind. Investigators and family members said Monday. They said Monday. Okay, I wasn't sure where it was ending there. Hey, thanks to Vegas Andrews. Some things just aren't adding up. Oh, man. That's the conspiracy theory language.
I remember this case and wondered how the heck do 3 people just disappear.
I know, it's a lot of
Face
people.
emoji.
Some things aren't adding up, said Sergeant Mark Webb, adding that police consider foul play a possibility. Police said Stacy Kathleen McCall, 18, and Suzanne E. Streeter, 19, were last seen at about 2 a.m. Sunday, leaving a graduation party in Battlefield, 8 miles southwest of Springfield. Streeter's mother, Cheryl Elizabeth Levitt, 47, was last seen at about 8 hours earlier at the students' commencement. So there was a commencement, and then the other two, a daughter and her friend, went partying. Police have asked the public for any information on their whereabouts. Friends told police that the teenagers left the party in separate cars for Levitt's house. So they must have their own car. Their cars and Levitt's car were found at the house. So the mother, and so there was 3 cars at the house there. Oh, you do? Hold on. I'll tell you what her maiden name is. Hold on a second. It's T-S-A-B. Here, I'll type it in so you can have it. Right there. And her first name is, Monique or like that. Well, you can see it on the screen right there. But all right, Monique F. Sabatursky. You got it? Hey, cool. All right. Yeah, we covered this one like 4 years ago. I made it. It's not public, it's just unlisted currently. Okay, but all 3 of the cars, so the 2 kids and the mother's car, were at the house. I feel terrible, really, because I just don't know what's going on, said McCall's father, Stuart McCall, who filed the missing person report. She's been very prompt all her life about telling us where she is. McCall said his daughter's friends told him early Sunday that she had gone to Streeter's house. McCall went to the house, finding it unlocked with the teenager's purses, keys, money, and other belongings inside, he said. The television was on, and the dog was inside. McCall went in the house, finding it unlocked with the teenager's purses, keys, money, and other belongings. So it's basically as if somebody went into the house and at gunpoint marched them out of that house and then took them and had them leave everything. And they were just like probably watching television at the time was on, and the dog was inside. They could have also turned the TV on like loud to, sort of cover up a little talking or whatever the hell they're doing in there. The shoes and shorts that McCall wore to the party also were in the house, along with the swimsuit she planned to wear Sunday to a water park in Branson. Police found no signs of forced entry other than a broken porch light, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. The porch light. The teens were students at Kickapoo High School, and hey, look at that, it's Fig Solves. How the hell's it going? The teens were students at Kickapoo High School. They went to the party in Battlefield after the graduation ceremony at Hammond Student Center at Southwest Missouri State University. McCall said the daughter had her permission to spend the night with a friend in Battlefield, but not at Streeter's house in Springfield. McCall said that his daughter and Streeter had been friends years ago, but that they had not been close recently. How shitty would that be? Like, you're not really even friends that much, and all this bad stuff goes down, so there's not really the comfort of that, Alright, moving on to the next one. I think this is like page 2 of the same one. So let's see. The women attend Kickapoo High School graduation. I mean, I think I don't see, some of that stuff doesn't mean anything, like where that was. What it comes down to is that they made it home. I think it's obvious that they made it home, since she had the same stuff on. Her clothing was at home, so it really just kind of matters you know, when they got home, and then what happened after that. That's kind of where it comes down to. So Cheryl Levitt was 5 feet tall, 110 pounds. Levitt's daughter was 5'5", 102. And then Stacy Kathleen McCall, who they used to be friends, but for some reason they're hanging out tonight, even though they weren't close recently. She's 5'3", 120, blue eyes, last seen wearing flowered shorts. I mean, if you want to go through Suzanne, brown eyes, blonde, straight hair, birthmark on right chin and on right arm, last seen wearing blue jeans, white t-shirt, pink shoes. And she was last seen wearing flowered shorts, yellow t-shirt, brown sandals. And it says the 3 Springfield women left their cars parked in the driveway. A television was on in one of the bedrooms, and their purses were still in the house. Strange, because one woman, a chain smoker, left her cigarettes behind, and another left her prescription medicine. The scene at 1717 East Delmar Street has family, friends, and police suspicious and concerned about the mysterious weekend disappearance of 2 recent Kickapoo High School graduates and one of their friends. Today, Springfield police continue the search for Cheryl Elizabeth Levitt, 47, her daughter Suzanne E. Streeter, 19, and Streeter's friend Stacy Kathleen McCall, 18. Streeter and McCall were last seen about 2 a.m. Sunday leaving a party in Battlefield. Police said Levitt was last seen 8 hours earlier. So basically the rest of that we've already read. And then we go to this one. But it looks like the FBI got involved early on. They should retake a look at this now with their new ability. They examined the riddle, looking for clues for hope for an answer. More than 30 police officers, both city and FBI, took to the air Tuesday, scrutinizing wooded areas. Did they say air? Hold on. Yeah, took to the air, yeah. Wooded areas and, well, probably by plane then, and a helicopter. Waterways, questioned more than 100 people and their own guts. Still no answer, just posters with 3 faces and the word missing. Each expired moment diminishes the prayer that 3 women who vanished from Springfield neighborhood are safe. Cheryl Elizabeth Levitt, Suzanne E. Streeter, Stacy Kathleen McCall, 18. They were last seen over the weekend celebrating a milestone of life, the graduation from Kickapoo High School of Streeter, Levitt's daughter and her friend McCall. That was Saturday night. Levitt retired to her home at 1717 East Delmar Street, a section of the city that in addition to Levitt's modest residence, boasts $500,000 manners and drive-by security. Streeter and McCall went to a couple of parties in Battlefield, left with smiles, drove in separate cars to Levitt's house. So they were in a good mood. They drove over to Levitt's to Levitt's house. And then and vanished sometime after 2:30 a.m. Sunday. They left behind 3 purses in 1 bedroom, cars and cigarettes and medicine, a chattering television, and a Yorkshire Terrier that likely holds the riddle's answer. The newspaper carrier saw nothing. The neighbors heard nothing. The police know. The beds looked slept in. One of the young women changed clothes. The only sign of turmoil, I mean, the thing is the beds look slept in, but, sometimes people don't make their beds every single day, so it could have been from the night before, and they hadn't gone to bed yet. The only sign of turmoil was shards of glass, remnants of a porch light ruined. So maybe that was new since there was glass sitting there. They do not know. They do not know. They examine the riddle, looking for clues, for hope, for an answer, for now in vain. So Stacy McCall and Susie Streeter beam for the camera. McCall and Streeter were later reported missing. So I guess these are McCall and Streeter. What does it say? Sorry, no luck. The county doesn't make. Oh. Has other divorce filed in. Another divorce, huh? Why don't you, maybe you can look and see if there's any similar information. Who could be so cruel? Who would hurt Suzanne Streeter? Who would take her away? Who would leave her friends and those of her mother, Cheryl Levin, and other friend Stacy McCall, gravely speculating about their possible fates? The police don't know. Her friends can only guess. They shake their heads at the possibilities. I don't know what to say or what to think about who or what could do this, said a teary Nigel Kenny, 19, who worked with Streeter at Town and Country 6 theaters. I don't know who could be so cruel, etc., etc. I don't. Let's see. I'm looking for the ones that police questioned 3 men here. Let's see if these guys. At least 3 men will be called in for police questioning in connection with the disappearance of the 3 Springfield women. Meanwhile, on Tuesday, investigators sought the help of 2 psychics. Okay, that's when you turn the page. Once you talk about psychics, you can forget that. So this is a victimology chronology here in this article. Stacy Kathleen McCall. Friends and family of Stacy Kathleen McCall describe her as bubbly and outgoing. She's a typical teenager, say her parents. She likes to eat Honey Nut Cheerios, those are pretty good, for breakfast, and loves pizza. She rarely drinks alcohol, but sometimes holds a can of beer in her hand when she's around people who drink. She is known in the family for being responsible, organized, and giggly. Her father says she's very smart, but sometimes a space cadet who is slow at getting jokes. In fact, Spacey, I guess they called her Spacey, used to be her nickname. That's funny. She's very conscious about her appearance. Her parents say she loves to wear long, dangling earrings, and her long hair reaches her waist. She has a nice tan and slightly freckled face. Her walk-in closet, which she shares with an older sister, is jammed with clothes. She models wedding gowns for the Total Bride in the Brentwood Center. She likes all kinds of music, from new country to Metallica. She especially likes Garth Brooks. She used to play the flute. She does not have a steady boyfriend, but dates occasionally. She has a collection of small antique dolls on shelves in her bedroom, which she shares with her older sister. On a desk in her bedroom are a few envelopes addressed to her with graduation cards inside. Also on the desk are bottles of prescription medicine for migraine headaches. Her parents say she loves her job as a secretary receptionist for the Springfield Gymnastics. Recently, she was suffering from a severe migraine headache. All right, guys, so while we're reading here, if you have the ability to help support the channel, that would be fantastic. Gives a little more energy. Her parents say she loves her job, right? And then we got Suzanne Streeter, age 19, brown eyes, blonde, straight hair, birthmark on the chin and right arm. Considered a happy teenager by friends, she was close to her mother, Cheryl Levitt, and other canceled outings with friends to be with her mother. Outings with, so she often canceled outings with friends to be with her mother. Susie is very protective of her mother and vice versa, said Kathy Kirby, the mother of Streeter's friend Janelle, maybe because she grew up without a father. Her family's life was unsettled. She moved to Springfield in 1980 from Seattle, Washington. She never lived with her father, Brent Streeter, and her mother divorced her stepfather in 1989 after 9 years of marriage. She seldom talked about her father or stepfather to friends. She likes the typical high school things, among them bowling, being with friends and boys. In those things, she was a lot like everybody else her age, but there were deeper problems with her studies. One friend said Streeter was said to have some difficulty with reading, which contributed to her placement in learning disability classes, said Janet Bussell Oliveris, who lived with Streeter and her mother for a year and a half. Oliveris speculated Streeter might have a slight case of dyslexia. Her feelings were often hurt in high school. She was a very sensitive girl, Oliveris said. She felt like she wasn't part of the in crowd, like she didn't have enough friends. Still, her creativity flourished, especially in her clothes. She dressed really unusual and fun, funky, I guess you'd call it, with the ripped jeans and the hats and everything. Oliveris said that's the kind of girl she was. Last seen in blue jeans, white t-shirt, and pink shoes. And then we've got the mother over here. I think it's probably related to one of these two, and then she just happened to be there. Stacy there. So Cheryl Levitt, 47, came to Springfield in 1980 from Seattle, Washington. By all accounts, she didn't let trouble stop her. She told friends that when her second child, Suzanne, was born in 1973 with some cosmetic birth defects, Levitt's first husband, Brent Streeter, told Levitt that they should get a divorce but continue to live together. Why is that? That way, he told her, she would qualify for welfare and could better afford Suzanne's medical care. Levitt told friends that as soon as she was discharged from a Seattle hospital maternity ward, she packed all of her husband's belongings into boxes and put them on the front porch. They never lived together again and were divorced shortly afterwards. Levitt's son, 27-year-old Bart Streeter, is that what he said when she was a baby in the hospital? Jeez. Levitt's son, 27-year-old Bart Streeter, said Levitt, Suzanne, and he had not spoken to Brent Streeter for years. He had no contact, none with any of us, he said. For the first 6 months of Suzanne's life, Levitt stayed home from her job as a beautician to care for her. She had little money to pay rent, so she made a deal with her apartment complex manager. She did all the complex maintenance and repair work in exchange for free rent, friends said. She didn't know how to fix half the stuff, but she taught herself. Man, what a cool lady. It's pretty amazing. She didn't know how to fix half the stuff, but she taught herself. And that's before there was YouTube, said her friend and ex-boarder Janet Russell Oliveris. Levitt loves fixing up homes. The night she disappeared, she hung wallpaper in her new house until at least 9:30 p.m. when a friend last spoke to her. Throughout the 1980s, Levitt and her second husband, Don Levitt, laid most of the brick sidewalk and patio surrounding the in-ground pool and their home in Springfield. I couldn't believe how hard she worked at that. Her backyard was just beautiful. I was very jealous. After Levitt's second divorce in 1989, friends said she was in debt but determined to keep her home in an expensive part of town. She took in a boarder, worked extra hours, and made deals with neighbors to cut their hair for free if they would mow her lawn and help with repairs around the house. At one point, after her second divorce, Don Levitt's creditors began hounding her to pay his debt. She hired a lawyer to try to track him down with no luck. She hadn't seen him or talked to him for months. Levitt did not date or socialize much. She had a hermit side to her. I seem like it's, like this girl over here just seems like there's nothing, but there's stuff going on around these two. Let's see, Kickapoo High School. This is the timeline over here. 4 o'clock, Kickapoo High School seniors Susan Streeter, Stacy McCall, and Janelle Kirby graduate at Hammond Center. Cheryl Levitt Streeter's mother is last seen at the afternoon graduation. At 8:15 p.m., Suzanne, Stacy, and Janelle Kirby gather at Kirby's rural battlefield home for a graduation party. At 8:30 p.m., Suzanne, Stacy, and Janelle leave their cars at the Kirbys and walk to a nearby birthday and graduation party. At 9:30 p.m., Janelle calls her mother, Kathy Kirby, to say the three have decided against leaving for Branson as planned and says they'll stay at the party and leave for Branson in the morning, Sunday. And then at 2:05 a.m., Suzanne, Stacy, and Janelle arrived back at the Kirby's home. Kathy Kirby, despite... Let's see. So this is at 2:05. Kathy Kirby, despite a house full of relatives who came for graduation, offers to let Suzanne and Stacy stay overnight. Not wanting to impose, Suzanne and Stacy declined. Oh, man. Isn't that sad? There's like that one moment. And then at 2:10 a.m., Suzanne in her Ford Escort and Stacy in her Toyota Corolla are last seen driving from the Kirby's home. At 7:30 a.m., Janelle makes the first of numerous phone calls to Levitt's home to see if Suzanne and Stacy are ready for their trip to Whitewater Amusement Park in Branson. Let's see. So that's at 7 in her Ford. So they left to go home to the Levitt's house, and at 7:30, Janelle calls to say, hey, you ready to go water rafting? So that means the disappearance of them took place in that 5 hours and probably like a 5-hour period of time. For sure, right there. Janelle makes the first of numerous phone calls to Levitt's home to see if Suzanne and Stacy are ready for their trip to Whitewater Amusement Park. That's at 7:30. Then 12:30, alarmed, Janelle goes to Levitt's home, which is unlocked and empty. She finds the outdoor porch light broken. And that was at 12:30 p.m. And then 9 o'clock in the evening, police are called about the disappearance after several acquaintances of the women have gone through the house checking on items and cleaning broken glass. So they screwed up the crime scene. And then Monday at 2 a.m., Springfield police confirmed 3 missing persons. Their investigation continues. All right, guys, any chance you guys could help support the channel to make reading this long, arduous stuff worth it? All right, we got that. So there's, I think there's another timeline. Let's see if this is any different. That looks the same. Let's see if there's another one here. Part of the timeline. This is the house. So this is pretty interesting. It kind of shows you where their cars were parked. McCall's car, Streeter's car, Levitt's car's in the garage. Streeter's bedroom is back here. The TV was on and the blinds were open. The purses of the 3 women found at the bottom of the stairs. See, what's that about? You know? I guess they all could have been down in the room watching. But why would you bring your purse to the room, you know? Like, why would the parent and the 2 kids all bring their purse down to that room? It feels like they had him in that room for a while and then marched them all out. So the blind here was a quarter of the way up. Maybe that was her looking out. Hey, is there somebody here? Front door unlocked. Porch light broken. Police say the girl's car is probably pulled in at 2:30 a.m. And there's a 5-foot-high fence that extends around the backyard. Yeah, so it goes all the way around back there. And so that's the room. Yeah, right there. That's the garage. That's the room with the stairs in it that had the purses in it, right there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it says it right there, yeah. And one of them, I think the mother's a smoker, they said earlier, so... You know, did she just not want to... I don't know. I mean, see, that, to me it's really obvious that they were just kind of at gunpoint forced to leave the house, something like that, and to stay quiet. Because they didn't take their own cars, and they're gone. Their car keys, purses, cash, makeup, identification, and other personal items were left at the unlocked house. Miss Levitt, a hairstylist, was last seen at her daughter's graduation. Police know she was home to take a call, remember that, from a friend at 9:15. You know, what if there was somebody already there when the kids got home? And then they corralled them, and, you know, but maybe the mother was already, had been, you know, forced to be in that room or whatever. Miss Levitt, and then, let's see, police are assuming the women were abducted by someone they knew or had met recently. The chief said, however, he wouldn't rule out the possibility that a stranger followed them home. We have not settled in on one person or theory. No one piece of evidence points to a kidnapping, but the circumstances are too unusual not to be taken seriously. He said the detectives have interviewed hundreds of people who had contact with the 3. We are trying to reconstruct their lives. Witnesses told police nothing unusual happened, and there were no suspicious strangers at the parties. Some witnesses told police they saw lights on at Miss Levitt's home after 2 a.m. Sunday, but others gave conflicting accounts. Yeah, we already said that, Julie. You do this kind of stuff often in here, I've noticed. Yeah, we just read that whole thing if you were just paying attention. At least with homicides, you know what you're dealing with, but with this, there are so many unknowns. Miss Levitt was described to police as punctual. Whatever. I mean, we already went through the whole victimology stuff a minute ago. Here's another timeline. Here, let's just look at it and see if it's anything different. Yeah, it's all the same. So they got home around 2:30, and they could have stayed the night at another house, but they didn't. So they checked with 2 ex-boyfriends, checked on them. Vagrants back lot parties disturbed former renters. I don't know. There's a lot of articles that really didn't have anything to do with anything. I'm just going to move it forward to over here. Right, well, you should have been over here instead of searching online, because we're going over it. I mean, I don't know why people do that. I can't. Yeah, that's something I can't stand, you know. Because when I'm doing a show, and instead of people just watching the show, they go online and start looking stuff up and go, "Hey, did you guys hear that?" And it's like, well, what are you doing? I mean, we're doing a show. We're going over all this stuff. We got it all. It's right here. Let's see. Yeah, it just takes one person with a gun can control a lot of people. I mean, look at the Virginia Tech shooting. He killed a ton of people, let them line up, and statement reveals past violence with ex-boyfriend. Susie Streeter obtained a restraining order against an ex-boyfriend 7 months before she appeared from Springfield home Sunday with her mother and friend. Disappeared, I mean. That's kind of interesting, to be that young and already have a restraining order. Streeter, 19, her mother, Cheryl Levitt, 47, and Streeter's friend, Stacy McCall, 18, vanished from Levitt's home. According to Greene County Circuit Court documents, on October 23rd, Streeter sought protection from Mike Kovacs, Kovacs, 17, a boyfriend she had broken up with in September. And good night, Julie Martino. Thanks for sending me that. I think wasn't that you? Somebody else sent me that document, but thanks for checking to see if you could get that. Have you guys noticed that, though? Sometimes I'll be doing a show, and then people come in, and they go, "Hey, yeah, I just was starting to look up stuff on this. Great, look at this." And it's like, well, how come you're not just listening? We're going to go through it, and then you can... Because oftentimes what happens when people go do that, they find the 2 or 3, big piece of information that's out there, and then all of a sudden, they've already put it in the chat. I don't know why people do that. It's just odd. It's a strange thing. It's like, I don't know. According to Greene County Circuit Court documents, on October 23rd, Streeter sought protection from Mike Kovacs, 17, a boyfriend she had broken up with in September. And this must have been the year before, 8 months before. Her sworn statement asking for the restraining order said Kovacs beat her up, slashed her car tires, threatened her by phone, and harassed her at home, school, and work. Man, I could see that somebody like that doing this. One line on Streeter's petition form reads, "I am afraid of Respondent Kovacs, and there is an immediate and present danger of abuse to me." That's sort of interesting. Friday, Kovacs said the allegation in Streeter's restraining order were not true. After we broke up, I never spoke to her again, Kovacs said. I couldn't have done those things because I didn't talk to her. Earlier this week, Kovacs admitted that he and Streeter had fought physically during their relationship. The same day, well then, you know, that means everything else that she said was true, right? Because it's, you know, it's actually similar to my father's alibi. Remember that newspaper article where he was like, "Oh yeah, I mean, I did put the pillar over her face, but it was because she was yelling." No, you were trying to smother her. We all know that. Earlier this week, Kovac admitted that he and Streeter had fought physically during their relationship. The same day Streeter filed the petition, Streeter and Levitt also filed a police report accusing Kovacs. Wow, so Streeter and her mother also filed a police report accusing Kovacs and another woman of threatening Streeter. Wow, so what if those are the two? And twice slashing a tire on Streeter's car. Jody Arias slashed tire. I mean, I would think that they're probably pretty interesting people to have looked at. Levitt is afraid physical harm may come to Streeter from Kovac and the woman if this is not stopped now, the police report said. It also said Kovacs and the woman have repeatedly threatened Streeter on the phone and at Streeter's school. Police Captain Tony Glenn asked Friday night about Streeter's allegations against Kovacs. Said, let's see. Said, now you know why he was one of the first people we interviewed and began doing background checks on. Streeter was a student at Kickapoo High School and a part-time receptionist. Coworkers from Norfolk Fitness said Friday she often told them she was afraid of Kovacs. It also ordered, the court granted Streeter a 10-day restraining order, which said Kovacs was not allowed to threaten to abuse, molest, or disturb the peace of the petitioner for 10 days. But you can do that after that. Stupid. It also ordered Kovacs not to enter Streeter's home, school, or workplace. The court almost grants such a petition. You know what's crazy, you guys? See, we've been reading this stuff for over an hour. And you know how many the super chats were? It was Timothy Cecil's $5 and said, hey, don't forget about the, you know. It's weird, though. Whenever we do the reading, that's what happens. I know we got to the point where I donated the $5, but it makes it tough to just sit here and read and read and read. And, you know, like everybody else, you can just read on your own if you want, you know. Let's see. In Streeter's case, the court set a hearing for November 5th to possibly extend the order. Yeah, this took place like 7 months later. Police gave Kovacs a polygraph test Friday afternoon. He agreed to take the test voluntarily. Kovacs and Glenn said Friday evening he passed the test. Neither would specify what the examiner asked him. Glenn said Kovacs told police he was alone early Sunday morning when police believe the women when they disappeared. He does not have anyone who can confirm that for him, Glenn said. Yeah, it's like the slashing the tires. That's what Jody Arias did to Travis Alexander. And just because you I mean, he doesn't have an alibi. He just says he was at home alone. He does not have a lawyer. Streeter petition said she was living with Kovacs at his grandmother's home when some of the abuse occurred. Friday, Kovacs said they lived together there last summer for a short time, a couple of months. He said he didn't know why she moved out and she returned to Levitt's home. I don't know, that guy's pretty interesting to me. What does that mean? Today marks a week since Streeter, 19, disappeared with her mother. Unger is the daughter of Don Levitt, who divorced 2.5 years ago. I don't know. I'm just gonna skip these. These are all what I read on the very first time I did this. Went through the whole thing, but. Well, who's this guy? Springfield police are looking for a transient type man seen near the home where 3 women disappeared. The man's description is one of the first firm leads police have had in the case. Glenn announced Monday that twice on June 5th and once on June 6th a woman saw the man near 1717 East Delmar Street, home of Cheryl Levitt. The individual was totally out of place in the area. He was a transient type with no apparent reason for being there, Glenn said. It's something we feel is significant. He urged anyone who may have seen the man or who knows someone fitting his description to call police. Investigators believe Levitt, 47, her daughter Susie Streeter, 19, and Streeter's friend Stacy McCall disappeared from Levitt's home sometime between 2 a.m. and 7:30. It's actually 2:30 because you know that they left the party at 2:10. Glenn said the woman who saw the man called police within the past day or two and had worked closely with police artists to compile a drawing of him. I don't know, I don't think that turned into anything. Anyways, you guys, I'm getting that weird feeling again. When there's no chatting, etc., etc., etc. I just could be working on something. I thought maybe this would be interesting. Maybe we should have done it like, at the beginning of the show or something. You guys are making that guy's troll comment earlier seem reality. The yawner, Somebody said they saw 6 to 8 adults walking from the Levitt's residence between 8 and 8:30 p.m. on Friday. They were laughing and joking around. Not know what that is. Now this van, I think, turned into something though. A burgundy 1987 Toyota Supra, a dark blue 1985 Dodge motorhome van type with no license plates. Police also are still looking for 2 stolen vehicles that were taken during the same time span as the woman's disappearance. They may be connected to the disappearance, he said. Yeah, and there's actually somebody out there that, let's see. This is what they wrote somewhere on Facebook, it said. That is exactly like the van I reported to detectives that I saw speeding away from the Streeter house that night. It struck me as odd that it had a split windshield. I had never seen a van with that kind of center seam on the front. The detective said he didn't know what I was talking about and that he's never heard of a van with two front windows. I have long come to the conclusion that there is a cover. Oh, jeez, cover up. Right. Everybody always thinks that because, you know, there's got to be a cover up if they didn't listen to them. But apparently, like this, like a van that looked like this van right here. Now let's go to the 1993, see what they got going on there. Now, serial crime theory studied in missing women case. It's a frightening premise, but one Springfield police, why does it say that? But one Springfield police are considering, serial crime. It's a frightening premise, but one Springfield police are considering as a cause of the June 7, 1992 disappearance of 3 women. They have not wanted to make it public for fear of stirring panic. It's a very negative thought, said Janice McCall, whose daughter, Stacy McCall, 18, was taken along with Cheryl Levitt, 48, and her daughter, Susie Streeter, 19. There we go. All right, cool. At least I got something during the entire show.
Here you go, great.
Let's see. It's a very negative thought, said Janice McCall, whose daughter, Stacy McCall, 18, was taken along with Cheryl Levitt, 48, and her daughter, Susie Streeter, 19. I don't like to think of it being some type of serial situation, McCall said. I don't want a Ted Bundy situation. I don't want to hear they've found the bodies anywhere. Still, I think they have to consider every angle, she said. Levitt's half... So they're thinking maybe it's a serial killer type here. Yeah, well, I mean, like the entire case that I've done, it just, everybody, I don't know. We've talked about this so many times. It's just mind-boggling. Missing woman investigation could be a serial situation. The continuation. Serial mindset. Asher acknowledged that whoever took the women may possess a criminal mentality never confronted here before. It's important we learn to pursue these people through their mistakes, their habits, their inconsistencies. They have learned more about that mindset in working with Jim Wright of the FBI National Center for Analysis of Violent Crime. To conceal some... What are you saying, Chris O'Connell? I don't understand. Who's being concealed? It feels broken to conceal someone from being seen. I don't know who's being active. A 1991 news leader series on serial killers suggests that at least 4 women discovered dead in the Ozarks may have fallen victim to the same killer or killers. The slayings dating from 87 to 1990. Springfield police collected copies of their series several months ago. Wow, look at that. Hey, look at, we got Lisa Valenzuela jumping in on my wave. Come on, we can do it. I don't know. It could be a serial killer. I mean, it's hard to say. So this was something that I thought was interesting. Caller might have clues. He was cut off during a call to America's Most Wanted. Stuart and Janice McCall are pleading for him to contact police. The caller may know as much about the disappearance as anyone. Trouble is, police don't know who he is or where. So Stu and Janice McCall are appealing for him to come forward, thinking he may have prime knowledge of the June 7th disappearance of their daughter Stacy Cheryl Levitt and her daughter Susie Streeter. His call came into the America's Most Wanted switchboard at about 2:30 p.m., December 31st, and it was cut off when the call taker tried to link the conversation with investigators. God. Police Sergeant David Asher said. I mean, what made him think they must have said something? The couple's brief taped appeal will appear Friday on syndicated television. I mean, what about the call made you guys think that? Asher will not say more about the caller or why people think the tip is for real. Okay, well, there you go. We're not saying he said he participated in this, Asher said. He's like a third party, a witness. However, Asher added, the caller, if he's legitimate, may be hesitant to come forward for fear of arrest or retaliation. Police still think local police may know who took the women. It's important we reach out to this person, Asher said. To support what he said, we need to talk to him directly. The tip steers the investigation to an undisclosed area in southeastern United States. Asher would not say if southeast, so that'd be like Florida. He would not say if he knows where the call was made, but the caller gave specific information that makes investigators believe he may know of the women's abduction from Levitt's former... Yeah, man, that suck. I think they probably had the guy and then they changed their mind and never came forward again. We were able to corroborate some of the information he provided as a result of our investigation, Asher said. There was a motive mentioned, and with the information provided, it's conceivable the crime occurred that way. Man, don't you wish we knew what that was, huh? That's the same thing. That story there. Let's go to this last one over here. I guess we could look at this over here. Sunday, June 7th, Cheryl Levitt, her daughter, Susie Streeter, and Streeter's classmate, Stacey McCall, vanished. Levitt's former 1717 East Delmer Street home from Levitt's former 17. What do you mean former? I don't get it. Day 2 through 8, hundreds of tips poured in from throughout the country. 9 through 7, police track leads. I mean, this is where I heard about that call that came in. An anonymous, so 209 days later, an anonymous New Year's Eve caller to a switchboard operator of the America's Most Wanted is cut off. Weren't they able to trace the call? For the first time, police announced they consider the disappearance possibly the work of one or more serial criminals. Day 275, Susie Streeter. I wonder if the call is what made them think that. Stacy McCall would turn 19. They have all that. The sun rose at 5:53 a.m. on what would be a warm, hazy Sunday, 40 minutes high, and reflected one witness will never forget in the terrified eyes of a young blonde-haired woman who later would double haunting with the face of Susie. What the heck? Double hauntingly. I don't want to read a flowery article. Let's see right over here. At around 8:30 a.m., Kirby made the first of maybe a dozen calls that day to Cheryl Levitt's home. She left messages reminding of Whitewater and for Susie and Stacy, who at the last minute decided to sleep there. There was no cause for concern. The three Kickapoo classmates had celebrated late, having graduated the day before from high school. There were plenty of explanations. They'd gone out for breakfast, for a walk. Maybe they'd gone to Branson without her. Stacy was to call her mother that morning before they left. Instead, friends called Janice McCall looking for her daughter. Around 1 p.m., Janelle called and told Janice that Stacy had slept at Susie's mother's house. Levitt's number was new and unlisted. Janelle gave it to her. Janice left a message for her mother. I just wanted to see if she needed anything. We usually kept it pretty close touch, and since she hadn't called me that morning, I really just thought she was probably still asleep. It was early afternoon when Janelle and boyfriend Mike Henson arrived at 1717 East Elmer Street. Dressed for water, Janelle let Mike knock to avoid stepping barefooted on broken glass that had covered Cheryl's still glowing front porch light. So that probably was taken out intentionally. Janelle saw, and probably so that when they were bringing him outside, the light wasn't on. Let's see. Let's see. So Cheryl's still glowing front porch light. Janelle saw that had covered Cheryl's still. So the porch light was still on now. So the light was still going. It just was broken. So maybe there was an attempt to knock out the light. From the carport, Susie's bedroom blinds stuck in an open eye position as if someone had looked out. Right, that's what I was thinking earlier. Maybe Susie had. Maybe that's when the volume of her bedroom TV, still on, was turned down. At the time, those thoughts didn't enter the broken glass, the three purses lined neatly together at the foot. Hey, thanks. BSER. Man, my voice, I'm almost hoarse from reading so much.
Thank you, great.
Hey, no problem. I didn't really think anything of it, Janelle said. She punched a button and listened as her voice replayed on the morning's phone messages. She called the mother of another friend. Should she lock the door? No, they'd be back soon. It would be embarrassing to lock Cheryl out of her own house. They cleaned up the broken glass and left, not realizing Cheryl, if she could have, would have cleaned it up promptly. They drove the neighborhood, asking an elderly couple if there was a swimming pool nearby. Maybe they were there. There was no pool, and the two went to a friend's house for a couple of hours. They called Levitt one more time, then went back again at around 3:30. Everything was the same. The phone rang, an obscene caller. Look how weird that is. Everything was the same. The phone rang, and then an obscene caller, always unsettling, but it happens, he quickly called back. They drove, how come that happened? That seems weird. They drove to get some food, and Janelle was crying in the back seat. Mike assured her nothing was wrong. They went to Hydra Slide in South Springfield for some fun. Stacy's mom had called the house a couple more times that day. Then we did our own thing. The McCalls played that afternoon at Lake Springfield, amusing themselves in the hazy 80 degrees afternoon with a remote-controlled airplane, fetched it when needed with a rowboat. It was a nice family time. Janice and Stu, her mother, their daughter, Lisa, her boyfriend, John, and a little boy who idolized John. The youngest McCall, Janice assured herself, was at Whitewater. They closed at 6 p.m., and there was parental expectations of a timely return. The post-graduation alibi had expired. As 7 p.m. passed, Janice was concerned. She again called the Levitt home. At 7:30, concern fell into panic with a phone call from the mother of Kickapoo classmate Adina Ruthroth. Did you know that when Janelle went over to Susie, all the cars were there and all the purses were there? Janice had not been told this by Janelle and the others who had been there that day. They didn't want me to get upset. That's when I started getting really upset. The day began to swirl. Janice found Janelle and Mike at Hydroslide at 10, and 10 people converged on Levitt's home for the 4th time that day. And then it says visitors. For the 4th time that day, visitors. It was getting dark as they arrived. There was no lights on inside. We yelled and hollered, says Janice, who entered first. It felt strange, intrusive, entering someone else's home, but Janice could justify. Your daughter's car's there, and you're wondering what the heck's going on. She tried the outside light switch. Nothing. Then stumbled over a table to a lamp, then to the center of the living room. She pulled the ceiling fan light on. Initial recollections, a VCR and cable box turned on. Videotapes arranged neatly on a coffee table. Nothing out of place. A meticulous home. Well, thanks, Marty's Barn Grill. I had sort of given up. I was thinking, we made the goal earlier, and that's fine. But thank you. Appreciate it. Man, I'm so tired. My eyes and my voice. I just have to get through this last one here. Initial recollection of VCR and cable box turned on. Videotapes arranged neatly on a coffee table. Nothing out of place. A meticulous home. Cinnamon Cheryl's little Yorkie Terrier was having fits, Janice recalls, yipping and running every which way and just acting strange. They had looked and shouted in the backyard and in every room. They'd seen the purses resting at the foot of Susie's bedroom stairs. I think that part's weird to me. That all 3 of their purses are down in that room. Maybe they put them there so that people thought that they weren't at home until later they found them and went, oh wow, then. But they wanted people to initially think that, I guess. I don't know. I can't. That seems like the killer had them put those purses down there. Hey, wow, thanks, Chris O'Connell. Can you guys hear my voice isn't working very good now? Stacy's migraine medication, her flowered shorts, jewelry, and new Gucci graduation watch. It was all sitting there. Resting at the foot of Susie's bedroom stairs, her jewelry from the night before in a bathroom tray. So she'd already got ready for bed and everything. The women's cigarettes, Stacy's migraine medication, her flowered shorts, jewelry, and new Gucci graduation watch. I kind of toyed with the idea. Janice says, I thought it was silly and stupid for them to have gone off and not left a note and not let anybody know. I was a little bit angry. I thought I'd just take Stacy's purse and keys and everything, and we'd just go home and she'd call up and I mean, if cops still have those purses, I think they should check them again for DNA. Because I think they were put there by the killer. And at that time, nobody was really thinking about DNA in 92, so maybe they weren't wearing gloves. They huddled and talked in small groups inside the outside of the house for about an hour. Inside and outside of the house for about an hour. Waiting, thinking any minute the women would return and how awkward it would be explaining their presence. Adina's mother, Darlene Ruthroff, suggested they brew a pot of coffee. She searched the cupboards. Janice didn't want any coffee. How embarrassing when Cheryl walked in. Fear was mounting. Janice, we were beginning to panic. There was no phone book in the house, so they searched Cheryl's address book, calling anyone and everyone they could, including at least one of Cheryl's relatives in Washington State. By some time after 10 p.m., Janice called Stu. He stayed at home for Stacy's phone call. They agreed there was one call left to make. Janice dialed the information operator to get a non-emergency police number. I didn't want to call 911. I didn't think it was an emergency. I think it's like a psychological thing. Once you call 911, it's a bigger deal, you know. Officer Rick Bookout arrived quickly, considering. This was one of 375 missing person reports Springfield police received last year. Usually it's obvious, Bookout says. Usually they leave on their own for personal reasons. Usually they're found within 24 hours. I bet the purses and their belongings probably made them immediately realize it was something worse. If not a missing person report is filed, then they show up. Here, maybe 20 hours after they vanished, Bookout didn't feel right about this one. He and a second officer seemed startled when they arrived at 10:48 p.m., Janice recalled. They come into the house with all these people waiting there. There wasn't any screaming and hollering. There's no blood, no disturbance. And I said, they're just not here. They had to think for a long time before they made a decision, just like we did, she says, because we thought surely we're wrong. I mean, things like this just don't happen. The officer listened to an answering machine tape to recollections of the day. They, of course, asked the only question that made sense of this. Would they have gone off on their own? Finally, the two officers went outside and talked privately. The cigarettes convinced them. See, there you go. Those items left behind. The cigarettes convinced them. Cheryl, a chain smoker, would never go anywhere without her smokes. A report was filed at 2:50 a.m., June 8th, conceivably 24 hours after the women vanished. That critical time frame, that window of opportunity that police say can spell the outcome of a case, was lost. Innocently, phone messages were erased. Oh boy. Hair fibers and prints planted everywhere. Police would later suck it all up. To this day, they do not know what it's worth. The officers were the last to leave, locking the house. They took the women's car keys and left a note for them to call police when they returned. You work a lot of these, Bookout says, but when I went back to headquarters and was working on the report, I kept hoping they were going to call me and tell me to disregard it. Janice and Stu left just before the officers, driving in those early morning hours to 3 Springfield Hospital emergency rooms. They flashed Stacy's picture. No one had seen their smiling-faced daughter. There was no Jane Doe's. They called radio stations to get the word out, but it was late. News directors were asleep. A few stations said they would try. Janice recalls someone saying, "I may not be able to put it on the air right now, but I'll start praying right now." It was close to 3 a.m. when the McCalls got home. Janice got in bed. Stu lay on the living room couch. He wanted to be at the door when Stacy got in. Neither slept. Their minds raced in the silence. They were engulfed in feelings of loss, grief of the worst. Emotions were flowing. Stu says, "You're wondering so many different things." With a new day came the media, more police, the beginnings of an agonizing mystery that remains unsolved. They hadn't realized it that Sunday, but by Monday, clearly, all hell broke loose. And the shitty part is those people all these years have had the same agonizing feeling, never getting answers. I don't know. That was weird. Well, there's two people. There was a caller to America's Most Wanted that seemed to know information that only somebody that knew something about the case would have known. And also, there was a prank phone call when these people were over at the house. Almost like he was watching and knew that they were in there. I mean, what are the odds that a prank phone call comes in while there's people at the house wondering where the missing people are? Yeah. I've considered it. What do you mean you've considered it? No, but if there were cigarette butts, yeah, they would have tested those, C. Daily. But there wasn't. You know? There was real whole cigarettes, not smoked ones. So, no, they wouldn't need to test those. Here, let's see. Let's see if there's anything in here. That says right here. Dustin Reckla was a former boyfriend of Susie Streeter. He broke into Springfield Mausoleum a few months before the women vanished and stole $30 worth of a gold fillings from a skull. Police looked at Reckla because Streeter had given investigators a statement about the mausoleum break-in and was rumored to be a probable witness against Reckla in court. Reckla and his two friends that helped him in the mausoleum robbery were known to be together and in the area the night the woman went missing. Well, that sounds like a pretty good one. See, that's what I was saying. Streeter and her mom seem to be the one. I just think let's see, I forgot her name. The first one. I forget it. Anyways, the other girl, Streeter and her mother, everything seems like it would be more connected to them, and she just got trapped up in the wrong place at the wrong time, in my opinion. Larry Hall again. Jeez. A suspected serial killer who traveled around Midwest for historical reenactments of the Civil War and is believed to have abducted, etc., many people and murdered dozens of girls and women. Hall is in prison and gaining his trust. Hall admitted, FBI operative was tasked with befriending Hall in prison and gaining his trust. Hall admitted to specific details about many of his crimes and murders in graphic detail to Keene that no one but the killer could have known. Hall also had a map of his victims, which has never been found after Keene revealed his cover to Hall. Nearly all of Hall's accused murders occurred in the months of March, June, and August, and September between 1980 and 1994, correlating with the time of Hall's. Robert Craig Cox in prison, Texas, a convicted kidnapper and robber and the suspect in a Florida murder, told journalists that he knew the 3 women had been murdered and buried and claimed their bodies would never be recovered. In 1992, Cox had been living in Springfield and when interviewed then had told investigators that he was with his girlfriend at church the morning after the women disappeared, which she corroborated. However, she later recanted her statement and said that Cox had asked her to say that. Jeez. Cox also stated that he was at the home of his parents the night of the disappearance, and they confirmed that alibi. Authorities were uncertain if Cox was involved in the case. Yeah, but why did he need an alibi for the next day if he was at the parents' house? Cox stated to authorities and journalists he would disclose what happened to the 3 women after his mother died. General Carnahan is also a strong suspect among many. Carnahan would be convicted for the 1985 rape and murder of Jackie Johns. The conviction would take place 15 years later. Carnahan had numerous convictions, including an attempted abduction of another young woman years after John's murder. Carnahan also had ties with the Galloping Goose motorcycle gang, who has been rumored to have ties to the case, in particular through the connection to member Stephen Garrison, a convicted rapist who police stated gave credible information related to the 3 missing women. Both Garrison and Carnahan are currently serving prison sentences. But the thing is, look at all of them sound good, but they're obviously not all connected. Right? Oh, there goes my stomach. The case remains unsolved as of 2025 in spite of upward of 5,000 tips from the public. Well, there you go. It's just weird, right? And it's just a crazy, people just disappeared. And you'd think, man, the ex-boyfriend, that might be a good one. And then the ex-boyfriend had a girl that he was with that both hated Streeter and threatened her. Yeah, that angle, but apparently, I don't know why they trust polygraph tests that much, though. They just disappeared from the house. And I guess it's a nice neighborhood over here. They're kind of on the edge of it. I wouldn't consider them living in a nice neighborhood. They're right next to, like, strip malls. I think the good neighborhood starts, like, right over here. I mean, it's close. Anyways, all right. I think that's going to do it for me, guys. My voice is shot. I think I need something. Do you guys find the show mildly interesting tonight? Eve Loved God, 20 months. Lisa Valenzuela, 34. Thank you. Then we had KMTX, gifted a membership. Then Richard Watts. Then we had Marvin Guns. Then C. Daly. Timothy Cecil. Then Marty's Bar and Grill. And Lisa Belson, both gifted 10 memberships. Then we had Cheryl Bullock. And then Marty's Bar and Grill gifted 1 because there was a challenge. Jessica Schubach, Timothy Cecil, Sassy Squatch, Michelle H. And then Lisa Belson has been here for 4 months, but then she matched that 5. And that was her challenge. And then Chris O'Connell gifted 5 and then did a super chat. How come yours only says 2 months? You've been around here a hell of a lot longer than 2 months, haven't you? Chris O'Connell. And then C. Daly gifted 1. Then Lisa Belson gifted another 5. Then Jeffrey Siddall. And there was a challenge, I think, in here. And then Zozo gifted 1. And then I sent 5 in to make up the last 2. But then Jeannie and... that didn't count, though. Then Jeannie and Mary made up the final 2 of that. I think that was for 10 memberships. It was a challenge by Marty. And then Marty said he'd send in a $50 super chat if 10 people had sent in memberships, and that was met. And then Chris O'Connell said, hey, I'll match Marty's number. So they both sent in cat eyes. And then we had Timothy Cecil. Let's do a little reading fun. Join in. And then the Vegas Andrews did 1. And then I sent in $2. And then Lisa Valenzuela sent in 2. Then I sent in $2 to myself. BSER. And then we had Marty's Bar and Grill. And Chris O'Connell again. They're like a tag team. You guys are great. Anyways, thank you guys for being so generous and keeping us moving along here. We need to get more information in the dentist case, though, don't you think? I mean, that one looks like it'll be really interesting. We just got to have a little bit more information. There might be something to what we came up with tonight, given the wording in the document regarding, wow, when I couldn't get a hold of her, that was even more startling. Almost like there's something that they know. That's kind of what I was saying the other day, that it seemed like there's something that maybe they know based on what was going on there. Like, why are they so, like antsy to get a hold of cops and stuff so fast on a situation like that? Yeah, I mean, sure, if you're a dentist and you're not there, but that was something. But now it even seems more likely, doesn't it? It seems more likely that there's something. And then we have that information about the ex and things going on in the background with Monique's ex-husband. There's still court filings and things. Who knows what that is? Yeah, so you had the harassing part, or there was, what was that? That she had to go to a shelter, something like that. Abuse shelter. And then that wording, I just think is really significant. Let me just read that one more. Where is that? One more time. It's in this article right here. Yeah, I don't know how else to say this, but we are very, very concerned. This is very out of character for him, he continued. We can't get in touch with his wife, which is probably the more concerning thing. Well, why? I mean, your husband, the husband is missing, right? I mean, he's the guy that you're calling about because he works there. So why is it more concerning that you can't get a hold of the wife? Okay, because what that's telling me, just using just sort of like logic or common sense of why would they feel that way, to me it seems like Spencer has said stuff at work related to his wife and something going on in the background for them to first be so concerned, to be calling so quickly 911 and getting all these people involved and stuff, almost panicky, and then having that statement, we can't get in touch with his wife, which is probably the more concerning thing. Hey, good night, Marty. Be safe. So anyways, that's my take right there. I think this stuff here, if you put it together, sort of seems to point in that direction. I guess we'll see. All right, you guys, thanks for being here. We'll see you tomorrow. And thank you again. You know, got to give special thanks out again to Chris O'Connell, Marty's Bar and Grill, and Lisa Belson for your support. Really kind of jump-started us again. Really appreciate it. So thank you. Yep. See you guys later. Be safe out there. Wait. And as I always say, everybody, until next time, be safe out there. Where is it? Right there. Right.
Yeah, I've been doing this true crime thing for quite a while now. And during this whole time,
Yeah,
I have not
that's
seen
what I think
one
they are,
person
so that's why we're not hearing anything.
that is a crime dissector, flag rejector. I'm a certified human lie detector. Gonna get ya on a stretcher if you try and play me like an old projector. Crime sector is my nectar. Professor Grego's gonna give another lecture. Crime collector, freak connector, and I'm always gonna be a pup protector.
Fool deflector,
Interceptor,
and I'm even with a specter with a vector.
on his specter. With all respect, y'all.
Just remember,
I've attempted fucking
injection.
I have no agenda.
I'm a bartender,
And I'll serve it to you straight without the blender. And in the end, I'm gonna send you
on a mission to hell to offender.
Yeah, so I'll just get right back to work. All right, everybody? Talk to you later.
Thank you for watching Gray Hughes Investigates on YouTube, where we use logic, reason, and common sense to figure out what happens in true crime cases. Thank you very much for watching. And as I always say, until next time, be safe out there.